I'm Virginia Stevens Webb from Georgia. I'm a third generation beekeeper and I've been entering honey shows for over 30 years. For the past 12 years, I've been a certified international honey show judge. This video is to give you an introduction into international judging. The United States has a great history of honey shows, including one of the oldest honey shows in America, the Topsfield Fair in Massachusetts. Other long-standing shows include the American Beekeeping Federation Honey Show, Eastern Apiculture Honey Show, as well as individual state shows. Judging honey show entries and the rules and regulation of judging honey shows in the United States has been inconsistent and without uniform international standards. I am presenting this video to help individuals who would like to learn a higher level of judging honey show entries using international standards. I am not trying to replace existing or current rules or regulations in many shows. I am only introducing you to a more international standard of judging honey. This is not to say that current methods being used are wrong, but the beekeeping industry is becoming more global, and beekeepers who would like to compete in international shows need to know these standards of regulations for international competition. My intent is to enlighten you to a higher realm of honey shows and international competition, as well as judging honey. Today, there are 2 international certification programs being taught in the United States. This training is in partnership with the Welsh Beekeepers Association and are the only programs offered in the U.S. as a recognized international certification for honey show judges. The first program was introduced at Young Harris College Beekeeping Institute, presented by the University of Georgia. The second is the Bee College, sponsored by the University of Florida. Both programs offer a 2 to 3 year program to individuals beginning as a show steward, then testing for a certification as a honey show judge. The test is administered annually and requires training and documented experience as a judge's steward and documented experience as a show judge, plus an oral examination. International honey show judges and stewards wear white jackets and hats during judging. This is to set yourself apart as a serious show judge. White hats in America are a bit hard to come by, but if you're part of one of these certified honey show programs, they are available through that organization. In a honey show, there can be many different individuals who help plan and host a competitive honey show, including the chairman or competition manager of the honey show, the recording secretary, stewards who are judges' assistants, and 1 or more judges. If more than 1 judge is at the show, the senior judge should be the head judge. The recording secretary of the show is one of the first persons a contestant may meet when they arrive at a show. It is vital that all records of the show be kept accurately. Show secretary's duties include organizing all entry forms and identification markers for each entry, record all show entries, mark the entry show ID tabs, note any duplicate entries in the show, and have a set of the show rules available for contestants to review. The show secretary should strive to maintain anonymity of all entries from the judging. A judge's steward is another important person at the honey show. The job of the honey show steward is to assist and help the judge. These individuals may be experienced beekeepers wanting to learn ways to improve their own honey show entries or to become a certified honey show judge. It is a detailed job that should be seriously carried out with attention and care. Stewards can assist the recording secretary in accepting entries and placing the entries in the showroom. Some guidelines for stewards include: arrive at the show on time, review all honey show rules and regulations, be familiar with all the classes of the show, have a clean work area for the judge. Stewards should wear white coat, white hat, and gloves. Gloves can be made of cloth or latex. Have clean tasting rods available for the judge. Ensure all awards or ribbons are correctly in the judge's placement order. Stewards may be a contestant in the honey show, but they should inform the judge if they have an entry in the class the judge is judging, so not to give any influence to the judge. And treat all remarks made by the judge and others at the judging as confidential. Stewards should refrain from using perfumes, cologne, or aftershave lotion before entering the judge's room. It is best to have at least one steward assigned to each judge. Stewards should not open the competition honey entries, but may loosen the jar lids as the judges request. Judging is an intense process, and the stewards play a key role in making sure it all goes smoothly. Serving as a steward is an excellent way of learning about honey shows and is one of the first steps in becoming a judge. The role of a honey judge is to thoroughly evaluate the competitive entries and select the best of the competition according to the rules and regulations of the show. It is necessary that a judge brings all their equipment with them to the show that is needed for judging. This is called the judge's kit. A judge's kit should have the following items: magnifying glass, notebook, pencil and pens, flashlight with batteries, honey tasting rods. Toothpicks can be used. Two small glasses with water, scissors, a box of matches, flat scales, refractometer, standard honey grading glasses. These can be obtained through Thorne's Bee Supply. A tape measure, show schedule, a damp cloth and plastic bag, and dry paper towels, crackers, extra gloves, and comment cards. White coat and white hat are always to be worn during judging. The white coat is a sanitary garment, but also notes you as someone special who takes their judging responsibilities seriously. Now we are ready to start the judging process. I am starting with the strained honey class, or extracted honey. The steward is carefully setting all entries on the show bench. Jars are to be carried by the steward while wearing gloves, holding onto the lid only, so not to make fingerprints or smudges on the jar. For this show, only one jar entry is required. Many shows require multiple jars, either 3 or 4 identical jars per class. This show has 3 extracted honey classes: extracted honey light, extracted honey amber, and extracted honey dark. I will first look at all the jars to see if any do not meet the show standards by being either shown in the wrong type jar or are underfilled. Using your flashlight, you can see everything in the jar. You can see crystals in the honey, lint, or debris by just using your flashlight. Next, I will open each jar and nose the honey. This catches the first aroma of the jar. What I'm looking for is the smell of the honey. I don't want to smell any cleaning product, alcohol, or chemical, smoke, fermentation, or any unnatural smell in the honey itself. I will also look at the lid to see that there is no honey or foreign matter on the lid. Now I'm checking to ensure the jar is filled correctly. I'm also looking to see if there's any foam or lint on the top of the honey. I look at the lid to make sure there are no defects, rust, or scratches on the lid. This is a nice jar. I will set it aside and go to the next jar. Sanitation is my #1 requirement. If there is dust, dirt, lint, or foam on the jar, I will downgrade the honey. Maybe not disqualify it, but most likely it will not be a winner. Now I'll go to the next jar. Next, I use my tasting rod to lift the honey. This is to check the viscosity or to see if the honey moisture content is not above 18.6. If the moisture is too high, the honey will be too thin, but I can use my refractometer to confirm the moisture content. This is a job for the steward. They will mark the moisture content on the comment card. During the judging process, I will make many changes, each time keeping my best jar to the left and moving down to the second best, third best, and so on. To cleanse my palate between entries, I eat a cracker and drink a little water. Make sure when you move the jars, the lids follow the correct jar. These are my winning entries. Now that I have my placement, I leave a comment card with each entry. I try to note any problems on the card that may be with the jar, like fill issues or sanitation. I especially want to make positive comments for the entries, always encouraging beekeepers to enter again. After judging each class, the steward will help the secretary in recording placement. For chunk honey, many of the same judging techniques are used for judging chunk honey as extracted honey. Again, I'm looking for the correct jar used and if the jar is underfilled. Using a flashlight will allow you to see through the honeycomb. All the cells should be capped and no pollen in the comb. The comb needs to be 50% of the content of the jar. The comb should be from the bottom of the jar to the top. The honeycomb cells should be facing up. Look at the comb to ensure there are no travel stains or wet cappings. I downgrade for these problems. The honeycomb should be equally drawn out on both sides. New foundation should be used. Occasionally, I see extracted comb used as cut comb, but this will result in the comb being darker than the honey. The liquid honey must be the same color as the honeycomb. Again, I will disqualify any jar that is in the wrong container or is greatly underfilled. Opening the jars, again I nose the honey for the aroma. Looking at the lid for any debris, dust, or foam on the top of the honey. There should be no floating wax particles on the top of the jar. Again, if the honey appears to have a high moisture content, the steward will check the moisture. I also will taste each jar of honey. This is my final order, and this is a good class, but only 2 winners. The show rules may elect to have separate classes for poured, dipped, or rolled candles and tapered or decorative candles. Be sure to read the show rules about accepting candles. All candles are to be made of 100% beeswax. No color or scents added. The best color is light yellow to straw. The smell is to be of honey. I first look to see if the candle is standing straight. If the mold was not level when poured, the candle will not stand up straight. The size of the wick is to be correct for the diameter of the candle, and the wick cut to 1/2 to 2/3 inch on top of the candle. Look at the bottom of the candle. The wick should be centered and cut flat to the bottom. Shrinkage should be to a minimum. A good candle looks beautiful and burns clean. Only if the rules require, light the candle to test burning. Downgrade a candle for any chips or bruising. My candles are now in the correct placement order, first, second, and third. A plain beeswax block should be wrapped in transparent plastic or in a protective display case. Wax blocks are to be plain, no decorations or designs. The weight and thickness should be according to the show rules. Your steward can weigh the block for accuracy. Beeswax blocks are difficult to pour. Pick up the block to see that it is void of waves or uneven surfaces or cracks. It should be a flat surface, both top and bottom. Smell the wax. It should smell like the honeycomb. Use a magnifying glass to see debris on the dome surface. Again, place the blocks in order placement. A new category for the United States is the black jar. This was introduced by Master Honey Show judge Michael Young in 2001 as a honey class that every beekeeper can enter. The sole criteria for the black jar is taste. Tasting honey is special. In tasting honey, I want to taste flowers. The first thing I taste for in judging the black jar is the flavor that should not be in the honey, like a burnt taste, honey that has been overheated. An off food taste, if you store honey in a food container that may leave a residue, like a pickle jar. I want to taste no smoke in the honey. This could come from over-smoking your bees when removing the honey. You want no chemical taste in the honey. Sometimes when a jar is cleaned, all the soap does not wash off, or if the jar is cleaned with Windex or other products on the inside and out, that can leave a chemical smell. And no bitter taste from fermented honey. I'm looking for a jar that represents the area's flower sources. Honey is made from flowers, and that's the taste I'm looking for. For most black jar entries, the show will provide the black jar, or you can use the unlabeled jars entered. They will work. Only a few ounces of the honey is needed to taste the honey. In the black jar, I give only one award. I personally like to place my final awards. On occasion, I may give a Judge's Choice Award. This is for an exceptional entry, but not the best of show. For this show, it is the candle. The black jar entry is only one award, and that's the best tasting honey. And this one goes to Joyce Collins. For the best of show, I consider only first placed entries. This could be either honey or beeswax. The best of show entry is an outstanding example of all the entries in the show. Check with the show rules to be sure a best of show is allowed. I may give a decorative vase or goblet for the best of show, and for this show it is Michael Shook Dark Extracted Honey. The work a show judge does takes time and money. If you are inviting a certified honey judge to your show, consider an honorarium and travel expenses for that judge. This show only covered a few classes. If you are aspiring to be a show judge, I urge you to take a certified international honey show class and steward at any show you have the opportunity. The experience is important. At the end of this video are regional, national, and international shows you may want to consider entering. Thank you for watching. This is Virginia Webb. I hope that all your entries are show quality.